see it, but I am so deeply excited. We are back in the studio, baby, and we are launching. Cheers. We are launching one of our newest segments, a segment that I'm very excited about. Something is cooking. You guys are going to witness the first episode with someone who is pioneering the tutoring game. He is a pioneer when it comes to education. And you're going to walk us through everything that he's done. He's going to walk us through how is it that you can touch 5 figures in less than 6 months. I'm not saying 10,000. I'm talking 5 figures in less than 6 months. Seated with us today in studio, we've got this guy's name. You told me how to pronounce his name. Mr Augustyn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got it. Nice to see everyone. Well, not see you directly, but I'm hoping that enough people get to see this. I'm very excited to just be here and talk to you guys about it.
How are you doing? Talk to us. How are you doing?
I mean, look, I just finished exams, so I'm cooked.
Yeah.
I'm tired as hell.
Yeah.
But no, overall, I'm very happy. I feel fulfilled.
For sure. That's exciting, bro. So we're gonna get into a lot, right? But I really want to start at the beginning because I think people, especially going into business and stuff, a lot of business is really influenced by what you believe as a person and who you are as a person. So take us to the beginning. Where does it all start for you? Where are you born and what does that look like? What's the family dynamic? 2 siblings, 0 siblings, just the parents. Talk to us. Give us a visual picture.
Yeah, so I come from like a blended family, let me put it that way. So I'm trying to think of the exact date. So my mom and my dad, they're both Cape Townian.
Mm-hmm.
They got married in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even have a honeymoon. My dad immediately moved to Botswana.
Okay.
He was the CEO of Metropolitan Life Insurance for a time, took a break, went to a different company, and came back to Metropolitan. They're a subsidiary of Burlington, and they're in Botswana.
Okay.
So they were there since 1998. My mom moved up, I think, 3 months after he initially moved there. Then they finally got their honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 2002. They came up to Pretoria East Hospital for me to be born. So I travelled. I travelled. I think I was a week old on a passport.
Okay.
Went back to Botswana. Grew up there my entire childhood. Then I went to St Albans College in Pretoria for boarding school, and now I'm at the University of Pretoria. I did my BCom role, finished that. Now I'm doing my LLB. My dad was previously married, so I think he was 49 when I was born. I've got 3 older siblings. I've been an uncle since I was 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, my eldest niece is just finishing matric now. Her name's Emily. Shout out if she sees this. And I've got my other niece Isabella. They're both the daughters of my eldest sister Alzette. I'm not going to assume how old she is. I actually don't know off the top of my head, but I know she's somewhere in her 40s. And then I've got 2 other siblings. Renee is my other elder half sister, and then we call him Christy, but his name's Johan Christian David. He's my elder half brother. And I've got a little brother who's now also in matric. He was an uncle pretty much a few months after he was born. So his name's Jean-Louis. He's busy finishing off matric at St Albans now. He's going to study architecture next year.
That's super dope, bro. And talk to us a little bit about your St. Albans journey, right? I know it's a very good school. Why St. Albans, and what are you doing there that kind of gives you direction to say, okay, I think I want to do that?
So I did a lot of public speaking. So I wasn't too into it in primary school. Primary school, I played cricket, and I was a very, very, very big chess player. Okay. I loved chess. I think I got to something like a 1600 MMR, and then once I came to high school, that kind of fell off because we don't really have a team.
Yeah.
So I needed something new, started playing basketball, met a few people through that, and then it was in my boarding house. The guy was a year older than me. He was actually doing BCom at UP, but I think he went to culinary school now.
Okay.
His name's Sahil Golan.
Okay.
So he invited me for the tryouts for the National Independent Debating and Public Speaking Competition, NIDPIS. So I started going to public speaking practices, participating in debating, and I just loved it, man. Like, I don't know what it is, but I love communicating ideas and I love learning from people. Like, growing up in Botswana, a lot of people assume that the country isn't very diverse, because I think, like comparing it to South Africa, I think less than 1% of the population is white, and then of that 1% that is white, I think 10% of us are Afrikaans, and my family is Afrikaans. So we grew up in, like, not an Afrikaans community. Like, I grew up around all kinds of people, and so I've always liked talking to them, trying to learn more about where they're from, what their religions are like, and trying to understand that. And then public speaking gave me sort of a fun for it. And then ever since then, I just realized law, it appeals to me because I can argue, but also it's essentially just the rules of how everything works. So I get to engage with so many different kinds of people and so many different kinds of ideas. Like my favorite module probably this entire year was African customary law. I love learning about that stuff, like Ukungena and I can't think of all the other like principles or customary customs that come up, but all of that stuff was just so much fun to learn. So I love that, and that's why I studied law.
For sure. And I wanna hop in a little bit then to, okay, you get to uni, you say BCom law, right?
Yeah.
At which point do you decide, okay, I actually want to start a venture?
So it wasn't the first time. When I think my entrepreneurial journey started. Yeah, primary school I did a few things, but it wasn't anything major. It was definitely high school. I purchased our boarding house tuck shop.
Okay.
My dad helped me, he invested in it, I think we paid like 20k.
Okay.
Usually you're supposed to rent it, but there was no strict rule saying you can't buy it. So I bought it.
Already?
Yeah, so I bought it, and then when the housemaster was like, you have to pay rent, I'm like, no, I bought it. And like, it was disclosed to you, you didn't stop me. So now you either have to pay me everything back that I paid for it, and then I'll start paying you rent, or I must just not pay rent until I'm done.
Yeah.
So then I had it for 4 years, grade 9 all the way through to matric.
So you purchased in grade 9?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a big boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But well, my dad was, not me. I didn't have money yet. But even then, I started like trying to find things that I thought were inefficient or that were wrong with the system. So the number one thing that we always did was people obviously paid in cash, but also when people didn't have enough cash, they would want to buy on credit. Okay. And that was always a mess because I tried doing that for like the first few months, but the previous owner had been a matric, so it's easy for a matric to collect money. It's not easy for a grade 9 to go knocking on doors, especially our matrics, grade 11s and grade 10s, and be like, hey, pay me my money. So I ended up having to pay, his name was Honey, he was a first team rugby player. I would pay him to be my enforcer to go collect, and that sort of thing. And I just didn't want to keep spending that money. So I got a Yoko card machine. And I was the only boarding house tuck shop on campus that had a card machine, and so that just made it a lot easier. I started raking in money after that. Like I would buy a bag of 100 chappies for 25 rand, and I know there were some people that always wanted to buy the full bag. So individual chappies, I marked up 100%. So even though they each cost 25 cents, I charge a rand because people want to fight over a rand. But then if you wanted to buy the full bag, I only made it. It was 400% markup on the individual chappies. I only made a 200% markup on a bag, so I sold them for 50. And sometimes I'd have people, so now that they can pay with card, people would buy like 5 bags of chappies at the beginning of the week and stuff like that. So I just started cleaning up with that. That was a big part of like my application to Alan Gray. Like that's how like I was telling them like these are the sorts of things that I've done. I also wrote a lot in high school. I think by the time that I was in matric, I'd written 2 novels that were like over 100,000 words. I've written another one since then. All of them fantasy, science fiction. I don't like. I would never write like an autobiography. But yeah, no, like that sort of thing. That's where my entrepreneurial journey started. And then once I got to university, I tried a few different things that all failed.
I just want to interject there, right?
Yeah.
Before we get to uni, I think the early lessons in entrepreneurship are probably the most important.
Yeah.
So talk us through the model of the tuck shop. What are we saying in terms of ROI? What are we saying in terms of the biggest challenges? How are you ensuring that the cash flow isn't only consistent, but it's enough for you to be, breaking even and, okay, this is something, this is giving a bit of money.
So I mean, a tuck shop business is quite simple from a retail perspective because like I have very limited storage space. So I bought enough stock to know it'll sell out at the end of the week. So if I sell everything out, and I don't eat any of my stuff, which was actually the biggest problem. I would want to drink my own Coke and stuff like that. But if I don't do any of that, I know I'm making money because I'll put markup on it. And then my Yoko app like tracked everything.
Yeah, of course.
So that was quite simple. But I do think that the biggest challenges that I faced were the same sort of challenges that I face now, which were that the man did not like me very much. Because our school did something at one point where they wanted to get rid of fizzy drinks on campus. They wanted to go like full health. So they said, I can't keep selling it. Then I'm like, but I'm an independent vendor. Surely you can't. If you don't want to sell it, that's fine, but you can't make me sell it.
For sure.
So I bought liquid fruit juices and I packed them on the front rows of each stack of my fridge, and then I kept the Cokes behind it.
Oh, right.
So and then I would just move the liquid fruit. And people would ask where the Coke is from if like an inspector came and they're like, they never asked. Strange enough, they never asked to look behind the liquid fruits.
Yeah.
So like I was just open the fridge and I'm like, I saw liquid fruit, bro.
Yeah.
It's just you can see it doesn't sell very well, so I'm not making much money. And then sorry to St. Albans, by the way, when you put this out. But no, there was that sort of thing. And the other thing that I started doing, I went like there, I cooked. I still don't understand why more people don't do this. We were allowed to order on weekends. They actually had to ban ordering, I think, in part because of what I was doing.
Okay.
So I would order 25 Oreo McFlurries and 25 double cheeseburgers every Sunday, and just put them in the fridge. And then I'd sell them the next morning on Monday and sell everything up, and I mark everything up 100%. Like I was selling double cheeseburgers. At the time they were only 25 rand, I sold them for 50. And people would buy it.
Of course.
So yeah, I was just stuff like that. Like I always try and find like new ways to innovate. And if someone says you can't do something, that I hate. Like if you want me to do something I can't.
Yeah.
But I always am the person who's like, okay, you just are accepting that this is inefficient. Surely you can do it better. Why don't you think of a way to do it? And so I would try and find new ways. Yeah.
So okay, you learn from that, and then how does it translate to your uni ventures of entrepreneurship?
So I tried one venture that I will openly and very happily admit was a complete and utter failure. And the number one lesson that it taught me is like something we often get taught at undergrad is the number one mistake you make is selling a product no one wants.
Yes.
I would actually say the number one mistake is trying to sell a product you don't understand. So I've never had a drink in my life. I don't party. But my first team basketball teammates and some of my friends in my dorm, after my final exam in matric, convinced me to go to the social club. So for the first time, TSC in Anfield. So shout out to TSC, that was dope. Of like the few clubbing experiences I've had, I think the only time I've ever other than that gone clubbing was when I was in Vienna. So I went to TSC and we stood in the line for 2.5 hours. And the way that we got to the front of the line, we were going to wait longer. Is I got frustrated. I'm like, guys, surely there's some way to skip the line. Like I'm seeing guys skip, like people are skipping. For sure. And the thing is, they all had Huns with them. So I was like, okay, I don't have any Huns with me, so I can't do that. But what I was like, surely, what do these people want? Why do the people want the guys with the Huns? So I asked them, like, why are they letting them? Like, no, because people buy drinks for it. I'm like, okay, so it's a money thing. It's like, okay, cool. How much can you buy a table? Or can you buy bottles? And they go, yeah. I'm like, alright, sick. So I walked to the front, and I was, I want to say blessed/lucky. My dad never created my own bank account. He just created subsidiaries of his own, and he had a black FNB credit card.
Okay.
So I walked to the front. I'm like, yo, dog, I've got a black card. Like, I'm gonna buy 2 tables and 3 bottles. Let us in. And they're like, alright, cool.
And
then we went in, and then I spent the whole time in the club just thinking like, surely I've just figured something out. So I went home that evening and I drew up a plan for an app. Because for some reason we always want to create an app.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a complete trap. Please don't create an app. We live in a third world country. Come up with a better, more efficient solution. But the idea was that if I could figure out an app that could track the lines at clubs to see how busy they are, and do 2 other things. Create social credit and create like a hype score. So if a line is long, you don't want to sit in it. You want to go somewhere where you can get in quickly, but it's also not dead.
Yes.
So I was thinking, if I can create an app that does that, and then on top of that, you can make purchases through an account on your phone. So it tracks how much money you spend. So if you're a big spender, you can get in easier. So that gives you, and that would give you social credit everywhere across the country. So you can just skip lines anywhere. Because like here, still the way that our systems work, if you're a big spender at TSC, they don't necessarily know that you're going to be a big spender at Jollies.
So
unless you frequent both. But some people only frequent one. So I wanted people who are big spenders, who they know, the clubs know you're going to spend money. I want them to be able to get in easy. So I tried doing that, but I didn't have understanding of the industry. I also didn't have understanding of the technological side of things. So I didn't really bring any value to it. So that was the first venture I did that completely from. And then I gave up on entrepreneurship. Like, I was genuinely like, I'm not an entrepreneur. Like, this is not. And then the way that I got around to doing Pass and Prosper, which is my tutoring venture, is I was midway through 3rd year. And I don't know whether or not it's like this, because you said you studied BCom law. A lot of people sell summarized notepads. Because the content for law is vast, but it's also all in a different place. Like you have cases, you have journal articles, textbook. Like you don't want to have to jump through. You want it all in one place. So people used to sell summarized notes, and they sell them for, I mean, anywhere between, cheapest I saw was 50, most expensive maybe 125.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is scummy, because this is not just plagiarism, but you're profiting off of it. If you're making summarized notes and you're giving them away for free, that's fair use under Section 12 of the Copyright Act. It's for educational purposes, so that's fine. And so I actually started just to be rebellious. So I started making notes and I started giving them away for free, and I made it very, very clear that the reason that I am doing it is because I want everyone to pass and prosper, and it's free from Frikkie. That was like, I would post the Great Gatsby, that scene where he's holding up the glass and smiling. It was that GIF with pass and prosper, free from Frikkie on it. And that's how the business started. And it wasn't a business, it was just me rebelling against the market, trying to shut it down, because I didn't want people selling the notes. And then people kept asking me for help. And like over WhatsApp, I'd send them voice notes or I'd send them messages explaining the work. And they said, bro, you're actually so good at teaching, you should do this. And I'm like, I've tutored before, but I don't want to tutor one-on-one because it's just not profitable enough and it wastes too much time. Because the most you can realistically charge maybe, like I charge 300 Rand an hour for personal tutoring now. But I'm like, how can I make more of that without making it crazy? So halfway through the first semester this year, I decided I'm going to start tutoring people online via Google Meet. I'm going to charge people 50 Rand each to attend the workshop. I still produce the notes for free, and then I teach based off of the notes and the textbook and everything else that we need to know. I started off, I was getting like, 20, 25 people that came. The other day, we had a workshop where we actually ran out of space on our Google Meet. We need to get the premium version now, because 130 people signed up. And so we took it at scale. We were like, look, we're going to, because there are other tutoring companies as well that you can, but they're charging like crazy amounts, like 300, 400 Rand for a session. And like, sure, they say the notes are included and the past papers are included. We draft our own past papers. We don't use any past papers that are created by universities because again, we don't want any copyright claims or anything. So we create our own past papers that we release for free. We create our own notes, which we give away for free. And then we just say, all that money you used to pay for notes and stuff, we are technically putting that money back in your pocket. And then if you want some extra help, more than that, feel free to give us 50 Rand and we'll teach you. And the workshop doesn't stop in the workshop, because the workshop's like 2 to 3 hours. I always tell people at the end, if you have anything that you're wondering about, if you attended this workshop, even if you didn't, tell your friends. Message me on WhatsApp, I'll send you a voice note explaining anything you like. Some of my voice notes are like 10 minutes long. So, like, I think the reason why I did it in that way is because I wanted to build something that creates a bit of a social impact. Because something I was doing is I would sit around and, my customers have heard this in workshops, but I'm sometimes disappointed by like the level of, not the education, because our lecturers are great, but like the level of retention of information, because we don't really engage with the work. So I wanted to create an environment where that was possible, because I want people to be able to go to a lawyer 20 years from now and be confident that their lawyer is smart and knows what they're doing.
So on that then, it's low margins, right? Low margins. But how do you then rack up the money that you're making, or how do you then turn this, because you're charging such a low price, right? So obviously penetrative pricing, that kind of thing. How do you then make sure that you're getting consistent revenue, and that revenue isn't just touching costs? You don't want to just break even, right?
Well, see, that's the nice thing, we don't have costs. I have none. Like, unless you maybe count my business account on Google, I mean, I think it's like $5 a month. So, that's 100 Rand. Those are my only costs. Everything else is effort. Make the notes, give them away for free. People come if they want to, and we teach them.
And what does the business look like? Is it just you?
So initially it was just me. So obviously you and I interacted with each other at the Jamboree for undergrad. So when I pitched there as part of my business, it was just me, and I had one administrative staff member, Frikkie. I've now basically made her my managing director. She runs the company. I just tutor. I'm basically an employee of mine. So she's amazing. She's great. She handles everything. But at that time we had 600 customers, and I think we'd made maybe just over 30,000 Rand in the first 6 weeks. So I pitched it to Alan Gray. They obviously gave me a grant to try and improve the business and that sort of thing. And now since then we've expanded. So I've hired on additional tutors who teach their own modules. The package that I do with them is basically they keep 75% of whatever they generate, and we take 25% as an admin fee. Because I've been part of other tutoring companies who are getting paid even close to that. And I always thought it was very unfair. I didn't want my tutors to feel like they're getting shafted or not like getting paid adequately. So yeah, we charge, they are in charge of making their own notes that they then release for free, and then they teach based on that. They keep 75% of whatever they make. And then I've got like some additional staff members and stuff like that. I think our management team is now 4 people. We've got 5 tutors, and then there's myself, so it's like 10 of us. And yeah, I mean, again, in that sense, there are no costs because we're paying people the commission of 75%, but there isn't really administrative cost. We call it administrative cost because like we just handle the bookings for you, so it's a little bit of effort on our side, but also we have the infrastructure and we have the name and we have the brand, so it gives you access to the students, and that's how I handle it.
So it's basically almost like they freelance through you.
Yeah. They like we are like Fiverr.
Yeah.
They work for us.
Yeah.
We're the platform.
That's amazing. But then, what does it look like going forward? What does pass and prosper have in the future?
So we've got some very cool and big plans, and I can talk about some of them. So one of them is that we're doing a joint venture with an e-learning company. Okay. So the idea is that we want to digitize the education so that you can access it without a tutor, but still get the same sort of value, if that makes sense. So making like interactive games, videos, etc. Maybe even adding a competitive element where you go like a Duolingo style thing where you can like compete for streaks with other people in your degree. So that's something that we thought of because I've got a very big love for gaming, so I figured if I could try and make that part of education, that would be great. But the other big thing that we are trying to tackle is we want to find a way to make it free, the tutoring. Like free for the customers. So something that we realized is that a lot of companies that are big enough that they have to comply with one of the things on the scorecard is education. And we started looking into what these companies are doing. Some of them don't want to run like their own skills development stuff, so they pay for the bursary of a student, right? So we figured, what if there was a way for them to, instead of paying for the bursary for one student, they subsidize us to tutor 100?
Yes.
So what we are figuring we're going to do is we're going to have to become a BE approved vendor, and then we would want to go to these companies and say, look, how about you give us the money, you subsidize us. We now, I think at the moment, I checked this morning, it's like 1,563 clients on the WhatsApp groups. We will conduct our own internal like research and stuff to figure out how many NSFAS students there are. Let's say there's 600. Then we say, look, we've got 600 NSFAS students that are in need of tutoring, but they obviously can't afford it themselves. How about you subsidize us the 60K or whatever that is the yearly tuition? We go to 10 companies and we get them each to do that. And then we say, the value for you is that instead of sponsoring one student to get an education, you're helping to improve, like vastly improve the education of 500, 600 students. And then we just divide the total amount of income by 50, because 50 Rand each, and each of those 50 Rands equates to a credit. And then we credit the accounts of the NSFAS students, and they just, instead of paying us 50 Rand proof of payment, sending it through to us and saying we're booking for a session, they just say, I'd like to use one of my credits. And then they come to the workshop. So that's one of the ways that we're looking to expand whilst making it free for more students. Because I'd love to be able to tutor 250 people at a time. Because we've actually started conducting our own internal research and polling. Last semester we did a poll. I think we got like over 150 responses from our clients at the time. So that was like, 25% of our client base, because we had 600 people. But of those 600, only 190 actually attended the workshop. So it was much higher in terms of percentage. 68.3% of respondees said that their grades improved between 5 to 10%. 12% said that their marks improved by over 10. 8% said their marks improved by 20%, which I actually followed up with those people. I was like, no, I can't believe that. Is that real? They're like, yeah, 100% is like you unlocked something. And then I think just a little bit less than whatever the remaining percentage was, I can't remember off the top of my head, they improved between 0 and 5. But not a single one said that their marks have declined or stayed the same. They've all improved. So that's the value as well that we're trying to push, because we're, at the very least, we're creating engagement. We're creating like an accountability mechanism.
I think that is absolutely phenomenal, right? And I think that the business has great legs, and I'm hoping that someone out there is listening and that these businesses are hearing you and are on their way to subsidize.
Hopefully.
But in parting and to close off, what are your big words of advice? Three, something short, something brief, maybe 3 sentences long.
Okay, so the first thing I'd just say is do what you love. There's no point in doing it if you don't enjoy it. The second is that try and help as many people as possible. Something my mom always told me when I was little was like, yeah, we have money, but that means you can help people. So the more money you have, the more people you can help. The more people you help, the more money you can make, and the process is positive now. That's the second thing. And I think the last thing is, if you're going to do something and you want to make it real, you have to go 100%. You can't cut corners, you can't cheat it. Success knows only one thing in value, and it's hard work. Success won't reward you if you don't work hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that is powerful. What are your parting words? What is something you want people to know about Pass and Prosper, about Simon, anything? What is the last thing you want to tell the chefs at home? Your camera right now.
Okay. So for Pass and Prosper, I'm going to say we're only getting started. So anyone that is our competitor and hoping we go away, we won't. And we're going to change the way that things work. And for me, this won't be the last company that I start. I plan to genuinely, I love education. I want to change the world, and I'm committed to that. Whether or not it happens, yeah, so what? But I believe it will.
You heard it here first, chefs. Something is cooking, and Simone is in the kitchen.
Thanks, guys.